I've got a few announcements for you. We had 64 members present in Sunday school this morning, up from 48 last week, so we're glad everybody's back. Also, our offering today was $4,211, so thank you for your continued giving. Also, you'll see in your bulletin a few announcements up there at the top for today. Today is Promotion Sunday for our youth and children's classes, so those kids moved up. We also are going to have children's mission offering here in just a second. Also, today from 2 to 4, there will be a wedding reception for Shaden and Julie Green Jones over in our activity center. And again, it will be from 2 to 4 today. And then we have a deacons meeting at 7 p.m. after services tonight. So keep that in mind. Also, June 13th, you'll have ladies' women's ministry, 6 p.m. in the fellowship hall. Also, if you are interested in serving the state Baptist Disaster Relief group, they're going to have a training session at First Baptist East in Lawton at 8 a.m. on June 17th. The cost is $15, and if you want to attend, please contact Janice. They go over things like food distribution, running a chainsaw, things like that during the disaster relief, but you have to have this training before you can actually do that. So keep that in mind. Also, June 19th through the 23rd, we'll have BBS here, 9 a.m. to noon. If you would like to help with that, please let Teresa or Hunter know, and that would be greatly appreciated, and you will be blessed. We've got a couple of birthdays this next week and an anniversary. Tracy Clegg is going to have a birthday on Monday, June the 5th, and Norma Green will have a birthday on Friday. And then on Wednesday, the 7th, James and Brenda Beckham have an anniversary. So a happy anniversary to them. And then on the 10th, LaDawn and Treva Blankenship also have their wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary to you all. At this time, we're going to take our children's offering for missions. Are you ready, Jack? Okay, fantastic. All right, so as the kids come around, we'll have music play, and then Hunter will come and lead us in our welcome song. So get your money in the folds out, folks. It's okay, they're coming. So let's say a prayer real quick, and then we'll have them take the children's offering. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the blessings you've given us. Thank you for those in attendance today, Lord. We know that there are some that are traveling, some that are ill and can't be with us today. Lord, I just ask that you be with them. You keep them safe and put a hedge of protection around them. Lord, those that are ill, we just ask for complete healing for them that only you can accomplish. Lord, we just ask that you be with the service today. Bless the word that Travis is going to bring to us from you. Lord, be with our song service, and so that the lyrics to these special songs reach the hearts and minds of those here in attendance. Lord, we just ask your blessing, your continued blessing on this church body. Lord, thank you for everything you do for us, and that you're in your Son's most precious name I pray. Amen. Y'all would like to stand with us? We're going to sing along, blessed be your name.
Blessed be your name. Guys, that's super good, don't you guys think? Everybody say amen. Amen. Give the Lord a hand. How about that? You been blessed this morning already?
Yes.
It's good to be in God's house. It's good to worship and sing praises to Him. Amen. We're good. We're glad you're here this morning. Renewed some acquaintances here, so some I haven't seen in a long time, like Linda, maybe 50 years, 52 years. You haven't changed a bit, have you? I know you think the same thing about me, right? Right. There you go. Well, it's good. We had a good week, haven't we? Been a little rainy though, hasn't it, for harvest. It's a little wet for harvest. Oh, I called Janice. I called Janice on Thursday. I usually call in my sermon title and scriptures, you know. I called Janice this past Thursday and I said, Janice, I'm without. I'm dry. It's bad. I don't have any idea where I'm going. Now, it's hard. You talk about a humbling experience. For a preacher, it is very difficult. It is very humbling to get to Thursday and you have zero idea of what you're going to preach on Sunday morning. That's a tough one now. But anyway, God has been blessing since then, and we're grateful. Since it's so wet, and so we're thinking about water, I'm going to preach on Jonah today. So turn in your Bibles to Jonah. We're going to spend a little time there, and I hope that it's a good thing for you. By the way, if you can't find that, it's over at the Minor Prophets, and on in my Bible, it's page 1030. So that's close for yours, probably, you know. And so if you can't find it, and don't ever be ashamed to go to the index, you know. I even have to go there once in a while. I try to hide it from everybody, but I have to go there once in a while and find where I'm supposed to go. I want to share something about being self-centered as compared to God-centered living. And I hope that you catch this. We're going to kind of come in some different directions, but we know this, that from the time that we're saved and we come to know Christ as our personal Savior, God is working on us, right? I mean, we sing that little song to the children, and we enjoy singing that. God's working on me, and He is. He's working on everyone else. Even on Hunter, God's working on you, right, brother? Yeah, you're a better man this week than you were last week, I bet. Yeah, there you go. But we see that God does work on us, and we kind of want to try to identify what God is doing. Well, I'll tell you this, God will be working on you to bring you from self-centered living to God-centered living. All right? It is God's goal in your life for you to be Christ-like. Each one of us to be Christ-like. And what does that mean? Well, that means that we react to life and the things that happen to us in life the way Jesus would react. What would Jesus do? Right? And so it is His goal for us to be just like little Jesus is running around, that we might at least react like Jesus. Now, we know this, that sometimes it's real easy to react like Jesus, you know. Like if your breakfast is on the breakfast table and you're coming up and drinking your coffee and you're sitting down, it's real easy to act like Jesus or react to that like Jesus would and say, be very grateful for His provision and that you had breakfast on Monday or whenever you're eating breakfast. So that's easy, right? But sometimes it gets more difficult. And sometimes things are not as easy as reacting that way to the way Jesus would. And so we find that sometimes we're challenged. Sometimes we just can't help ourselves. We just react selfishly. We react like we did even before we were saved. We react in such a way that it'd be difficult maybe to even see the resemblance of how Jesus would react. As I'm walking through this, I hope that each one of us, and I include myself because when I'm preaching, God is speaking not just to you, but to me. And He is giving me the same message about how I need to respond to Him. But I hope that you will kind of just put yourself before the Lord this morning and allow Him to speak directly to your heart. And that I hope that before this is in, maybe, that we can realize how God is working. We'll be able to hear Him as He speaks to us, and that we will be very confident in adjusting ourselves to Christ-centered living. Well, if you're in Jonah, you'll see that Jonah, there's some definites about the life of Jonah that I hope that you see as we walk through this. One is that we see that Jonah ran away from God. Now, all of us can relate to that. It may have been a long time ago, but all of us more than likely have run away from God at some point in our life. We deserted Him. We didn't agree with Him. We didn't want to go that direction each time. But anyway, we see that Jonah ran away from God. And as we read through these scriptures, I hope that you see that. You identify Jonah running away from God. And that may be related to yourself just a little bit about how you have probably run from God. We see not only did he run away from God, but that he ran to God in these scriptures. And it's very evident that he was seeking God. God had put him in such a place and had his finger right on top of him and was doing just like that in his life. And Jonah made a real good decision. You know, from the belly of the big fish, he made a decision that I might ought to run to God if I'm going to survive this week, right? Now we also see not only did he run to God, but he ran with God. In these scriptures, you'll see that him walking with God, him doing what God wanted him to do, him being very submissive to God's will, preaching the gospel to Nineveh. And so we see that there is a time that he ran with God. And then at the end of these chapters of Jonah, we see that Jonah ran ahead of him. Think about it. Identify it. But we see that Jonah was displeased in a way, and so we see that him running ahead of God. I know better than you, Lord, what needs to be done with these people of Nineveh. Well, if you're there, stay with me as we read God's Word. We're going to read about 3 verses in the first chapter. But keep your Bibles handy because we're going to be reading more scriptures as we go through this. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. And he went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare, and he went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Bow with me as we pray. Hunter, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Father, you right now. I thank you for the very Sunday we come worship you and hear from you. Lord, I pray that you speak to listening ears and soften hearts when we hear from you today. Thank you for this time that we worship you. And I pray that you speak to Brother Evans. It's your holy precious name.
You may be seated. Thank you so much. Well, we see, first of all, it's something that we need to notice, and we'll notice this about how God deals with us. As God deals with us, God will communicate with us. And he communicated with Jonah, and he said, Jonah, I want you to go. I want you to go, and I've got something for you to do. He said, arise and go in verse 2. He said, arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it. That great city was a great city, evidently 120,000 people. It was a large city. It took you three days to walk around it. We see that Jonah walked into that city. He walked a day into that city when he finally decided to go and finally decided to yield to the Lord. And he proclaimed God's message. But we see this, that God spoke to him, and God spoke to him in such a way that Jonah knew exactly. He didn't have any question about it. He didn't even raise a question. He didn't have any question about what God's will was. He just didn't want to do God's will. And so God said, I want you to go in, and I want you to proclaim me to the people of Nineveh. And Jonah, he decided that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to win. Now, I tell you, a few years ago, we were in Branson, and at the Sight and Sound Theater, they had the show Jumping. How many of you went to that? We got several of you. Was it pretty good, Sue?
It was good.
It was good, yeah. Shirley and I, we got to go see it twice, you know, but when I was, the last church that I had, I was associate pastor at First Baptist Church, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we were just less than 2 hours away from Branson. And so part of my duties were to, about 4 times a year, rent a charter bus and take a charter bus of people to Branson, go see 1 or 2 shows and have dinner, and then come back home before 11 o'clock at night. Can you imagine that? It's pretty tough duty, don't you think, Keith? Pretty tough duty. But anyway, we had a good time. But we were privileged to see, this was one of them, Jumping. And it was so well done that Shirley and I were just in awe, and many times crying as we were going through the show. And when he was in the sea and the fishes were coming around, in the auditorium over your head, I mean, it was real easy to get the feeling that you were there. And I wished I could describe it in such a way that you would feel that feeling here today, like John did. But I just want to share the fact, I think God's Scriptures is very evident of what happened and how it happened. And I think we need to stay pretty close to His Scriptures, but it says in verse 3, it says, Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. It says he went down to Joppa, and it says he found a ship that was going to Tarshish. It's the opposite way of Nineveh, and he was going to get out of it. In verse 4 it says, but the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. He paid his way, he went down to the bottom of the ship, and he went to sleep. Who does that remind you of? That reminds us of Jesus, doesn't it? Jesus went down and went to sleep, and the disciples were up fighting the wind, and it was about to lose it. They went down and asked him, aren't you going to do something? I mean, we're dying here, Well, these guys were suffering with the same thing. Jonah was down in the lower part of the belly of the ship. It says that then the mariners were afraid. Now, when the guys, the professionals are afraid, it's bad, right? And it says the mariners were afraid, and they were starting to think about their relationship with whatever God they worshiped. But it says that they were afraid, and every man cried out to his God. It says, and they threw the cargo that was on the ship, they threw it into the sea to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lower parts of the ship and had lain down and was fast asleep. How he was sleeping, I don't know. If you've ever been on even a big boat, when it was storming, it's so rough that I don't know how anyone will sleep. But Jonah was asleep. Maybe Jonah had been wrestling with God for a while, and he was just completely given out. Maybe so. I don't know. You kind of got to read between lines. Maybe that he was such at peace that he was getting away from the obligations of going to Nineveh and preach the word that he was just relaxed. I don't know what it was, but it seems that he went down, and he said they came, the mariners, or the guys that run the ship, they called upon the captain. It says in verse 6, so the captain came to him, and he said to him, what do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. Perhaps your God will consider us so that we may not perish. And they said to one another, come, let us cast lots, that we may know for sure, or know whose cause this trouble has come upon us. So they cast lots, and it fell, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? What is your occupation, and where do you come from? What is your country, and of what people are you? And it says that in verse 9, he said, and he said to them, I am a Hebrew. He said, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Now, there's some confusing statements in the last verses that I've just read. He said, I am a Hebrew, who made the sea and the live rain, and it said, and the dry land. But he described it, he said, I fear God. Well, you think about that. I think we can identify with this. He says, I fear God. You'd think a guy that feared God would truly fear God and would be afraid to go anywhere but where God wanted him to go. Now, what does that tell you about his decision? Was it a God-centered decision or a self-centered decision? Easy to say, right? Well, this had to be a self-centered decision. Because God told him, this is what I want you to do. And he said, even though I fear God, I don't fear God enough not to do it. I'm going to go with these sailors, and I'm going to hide from God. I'm going to go the other direction. I am not going to do what God wants me to do. Now the question is, maybe not so much about these guys. We know that this actually happened. But maybe what this does brings it to our attention. Do we do that? Do we do that in our life? Are there some things that God might say to you that you might say, God, I am not going to do that? You know, maybe you have an evangelistic emphasis in your church, maybe a revival time. And the challenge may be to visit someone that you know is lost and does not know Christ as Savior. But you think about that a little bit, you might get excited at church, but by the time you get home, you say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I remember facing a decision one time on the mission field. I was in a town in Mexico, and I was in charge of a group that was sharing the gospel. And we all went out to share it one afternoon, and we didn't have enough interpreters for it. And I was the one that sent everybody out, and I didn't have an interpreter. You know what my selfish heart said to me? It's okay. You just sit around this afternoon, they'll be back at the ball, and we'll do something else. And God said to me, Travis, you've traveled 2,000 miles to share the gospel. Just because you don't have an interpreter, that doesn't mean that you don't have the responsibility of doing what I told you to do. And I said, I believe I'll look at this from your point of view. And I went out by myself, not knowing except a few words of Spanish. Please read my testimony. That's all I had, John. And I had it written out. And I'd not want to do it. And I'd have that. And I would say in Spanish, please read my testimony. About the third door, this lady came to the door. And I said, please read my testimony. And her daughter came up and been in the English class. Her daughter came up about 16 years old and shared what I shared through her. She was my interpreter to lead this lady to Christ. And then after she did that, she accepted Christ. Oh, what a victory. Do you think it was a lot easier for me the next time to say yes to God when I wanted to say no and be self-centered and say yes and be God-centered? Did I ever do that again in my life? Yes. Many times. You see, we face the question about how we're going to respond to God by whether we really do. I am hesitant to use that word fear. I'd rather use the other side of that and say, I love the Lord enough. And I see the Lord for who He is. And I know that I need to react God-centered instead of self-centered. And I say, oh my goodness, He's been so good to me. How can I react to this situation in any other way than God-centered? Well, it says that He said that I'm a Hebrew. We fear God. He's the God of heaven and earth. He says He made the sea and dry land. He says, then the men were exceedingly afraid. They said to Him, why have you done this? You ever ask yourself, why have you done this? They asked Him. and now we're all in jeopardy. We're all going to die because of what you've done. It's a rude awakening when we think about us as a church. Many times we think our Christianity is being very personal, but guys, our Christianity and our walk with God affects a lot of other people. Parents, our relationship with one another and God affects a lot of people. Our relationship with our children and their relationship with God affects a lot of people. They said, why have you done that? Sometimes we can say, well, I just reacted in a self-centered way. And that's no excuse. We don't have an excuse at all because we have a responsibility to react in a God-centered way. And when we think about the other people in our life, we know that the church is a part of that other people. And when we make decisions as a church in a self-centered way, we put ourselves in jeopardy and a lot of other people in jeopardy. And we ought to say, shame on us. Amen? Yeah, shame on us because, oh, we say we love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, but we react differently because we still react in a self-centered way. Many times. Sometimes more than you want to realize when you start analyzing and evaluating and testing yourself and allowing God to speak to you and tell you where you're at and what you're doing. He did with Jonah. It says then the men were exceedingly afraid. They said, why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord because he had told them. And then they said to him, what shall we do? That the sea may be calm for us, for the sea was growing more tempestuous. I can't say that word, but you know what it means. And he said to them, pick me up and throw me overboard. Jonah was so hard-headed with this decision. He says, you only have one choice. Throw me overboard. You may survive. I'm ready to die. Overboard was death, right? Overboard was no hope. There was no hope whatsoever that he would live through this. He says, pick me up and throw me into the sea. The sea will become calm for you. And I know that this tempest is because of me. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land. But they could not, for the sea continued to grow and became more difficult against them. We see this, that they said, well, you know, we know that you're the problem, and we know you said throw me over, but we're going to try harder. We're going to row even harder. We're going to try to say, we don't want to throw you overboard. Therefore they cried out to the Lord, and they said, we pray, O God, please do not let us perish for this man's life, and do not charge us with this innocent blood, for you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. And so they picked up Jonah, and they threw him overboard. Is that the end of the story? Did Jonah die? No. We see this, they threw him into the sea, and immediately the raging sea calmed. Now, I just want to bring a couple things to your attention. All of these sailors, or these mariners, what do you think they thought? It says that they worshiped other gods. They had many gods. But what do you think they thought about Jonah's God? The one that he claimed to love. Well, we see later that they worshiped because of it. He was a personal testimony, even though he made a self-centered decision. What does that tell you? God can do about anything he wants to do. He gives us the privilege to do things for him. Get it? He gives us the privilege to be that person that he's called us out to be. He gives us the privilege to make Christ-centered or God-centered decisions. It's more of a privilege than it is the obligation. Amen? Because you see, when we walk with God a little bit, and we get used to making God-centered decisions, then it becomes so important that we make God-centered decisions that it is a privilege and an honor to be Christ-like. And it is more of that, more honor than it is the responsibility that goes with it. We see that the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord, and they not only made that, but it says they made vows. What do you think their vows consisted of? I'll never get in a boat again. That could be right. I'll never put myself in jeopardy this way again. But we know that it doesn't have to be out in the sea for us to be in jeopardy, right? Yeah, they made vows, but they did everything that they could to worship the Lord and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for saving us. It says in 17, now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. That's kind of a coincidence as well, isn't it? How long was Jesus in the grave? 3 days and 3 nights. You know, we always know. We know because God will tell us enough about the situation that we will recognize His fingerprints all over our situation in life. Can you see it? Yeah. You know, Jonah knew who was talking to him, and he knew exactly what God was telling him to do. Even there wasn't any question about it, no, hands down, he was convinced this was what God was doing in his life. It says, then Jonah prayed. Yeah, Jonah, how is that reaction a God-centered reaction? You bet it is, isn't it? It is a God-centered reaction. Jonah, he's down in the water. He's swimming around. You know, he's probably about to lose it. He knows that he's dying. He's going to drown. Now, we're all afraid of the water in some ways, right? We've got little panic times in our life that we remember how helpless we feel in the water. But Jonah felt helpless, and that brought him to the place to where he cried out to the Lord in verse 2 of chapter 2, because of my affliction, he said, answer me, oh please answer me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice, for you cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your billows and your waves passed over me. Then I said, I have been cast out of your sight. Yet, he says, I will look again toward your city, your holy temple. The waters encompassed me, even to my soul. The deep closed around me. Can you feel the helplessness of these words? Weeds are wrapped around my head. I went down into the mornings of the mountains. The earth, which is barred, its bars closed behind me forever. Yet you have brought up my life from the pit. Oh Lord, my God. Can you see Jonah's reaction? Where do you have to be? He had to be as helpless and hopeless as he could possibly be. I'm in the sea. I'm drowning. I'm going to die. Oh God, listen to my prayer. Save me. Think about it. When you received Christ as Savior, were you there? Huh? Or was it just a nonchalant decision? Well, I believe I'll just go down to the front of the church and receive Jesus as Savior today. Well, I'll tell you what. If you are as desperate as Jonah was, he called out to God for salvation, it'll make a lot better person out of you than you were if it was just a nonchalant decision that you just made. That decision is a life-changing decision that will last you an eternity of being God. Amen? Yeah, but old Jonah, he was desperate. He cried out to God. He says, when my soul, in verse 7, he said, when my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord. And my prayer went up to you and into your holy temple. And those who regard worthless idols forsake them their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay what I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. Jonah was changed. God was answering the prayer. And it says in verse 10, so the Lord spoke to the fish, and he vomited Jonah onto dry land. It says in chapter 3, verse 1, it says, now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time. You ever have received a second chance in life? We need second chances, don't we? Aren't you glad for them? Did you realize that you've been blessed with a second chance? God gave Jonah another chance. He said, Jonah, listen to me. I've got a message for you. He said, arise and go to Nineveh. But you know what Jonah said? Goodness, I said I'd make my vows before you, but goodness, Lord, you know, you saved my life in this fish. You know, he vomited me up on the ground, but still, yet you want me to go to Nineveh? Heavens to Megatron's God. Are you sure you know what you're doing? It says, so Jonah arose and he went to Nineveh according to the word of the Lord. Now 3 days' journey in extent. He says, and Jonah began to enter the city on the first day's walk. And then he cried out and he said, yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And when he was doing that, I can just see Jonah now. He says, ha, 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 40 days and here there will be no more. Because I don't like you guys. We've got a bad reputation between us. You guys have hurt my people many times, and so we don't like the people of Nineveh. Can we relate? Can we relate? We see terrorists all the time. It's terrible, isn't it? We see people that hurt others, have no excuse, worship other gods. Sometimes we can say, just like Jonah, I don't like these people. I'm not going to tell them about Jesus. I'm not about to. I don't want them in heaven. They kill people, cut people's heads off. They hurt people, blow people up. How could we ever be a people that would share the gospel with men? Sherry and I have our little baby girl. In the middle, that kind of people with the same religion as that kind of people, desperately trying to share the gospel and see one or two saved. And Sherry and I are at home saying, God was giving us, the American people, an opportunity to make a God-centered decision and say, Lord, whatever you want us to do, we'll go, we'll share. We'll send our missionaries over, we'll send our Christ-like people over, we'll do whatever. We'll go if you want us to go. We'll be available for what you want us to do, so that your will might be accomplished. You're going to see some things happening here afterwards. It says, in verse 5, it says, so the people of Nineveh believed God, proclaimed a fast, put on sackcloth from the greatest to the least of them. And then the word came to the king of Nineveh, and he rose from his throne, and he laid aside his robe, and he covered himself with sackcloth, and he sat in ashes. And he caused it to be proclaimed and published throughout Nineveh by the decree of the king and his nobles, saying, let neither man nor beast, herd nor flock taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink water, but let man and beast be covered with sackcloth and cry mightily to God. Yes, let everyone turn from their evil way and from the violence that is in their hands. Who can tell if God will turn and relent and turn away from his fierce anger so that we may not perish? Then God saw their works, that they turned from their evil ways, and God relented from the disaster that he had said he would bring upon them, and he did not do it. My goodness, what do you think Jonah was saying? I knew it. Dude is going to do that, God. You make me mad. Verse 1, but it displeased Jonah exceedingly. Have I emphasized it enough? It displeased Jonah. It displeased him. Did you ever get mad at God? You ever get mad at God? Let me ask you this. As a kid growing up, did you ever get mad at your mom and daddy? those rebellious years when you were a teenager, did you ever get mad at mom and dad? Did you ever think that they didn't know what they were doing? They were just so dumb. They just weren't cool. How can I make a decision for me? If you have any of that little rebellious spirit in you, you know you've got a rebellious spirit for the Lord. Let me ask you this question. What percent of the time would you say that you react to life in a God-centered way? Would you say it's 50% of the time? 40% of the time? How many would be so bold to say it's 100% of the time? Real quick. But I doubt anyone in here would say 100% of the time. I've done it. I know every day I react to life the way God wants me to react. Well, if that's not true, then what percent is it? And how, where does it come to that place where it's good enough? That God says, I know you're not perfect, but still yet, you're doing good. You're at least 60%. You're at least 60% of the time, you're reacting the way I want you to react. It's a sobering thought. It's a sobering question. What is enough for Jesus? Will you let him answer that now? It says this, it pleased him, and so he prayed to the Lord, and he said, Lord, was not this what I said when I was still in my country? Therefore I fled previously to Tarshish, for I know that you are a gracious and merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. Therefore now, O Lord, this is what Jonah said, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. By the way, this clock's not running. Okay. It says 11:50. Okay? It's not my fault. I'm finishing that. And then the Lord said, is it right for you to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city. He sat on the east side. You know the story. That he made himself a shelter, and he sat under it in the shade until night. Until he might see what would become of the city. He was hoping God to destroy that city, and I'm going to watch it happen. He said, surely God's going to do it. He said he's not going to do it. God's going to do it. God's going to destroy that city. And so the Lord prepared a plant. You know the story. He made it come up over Jonah. That plant come over. He was hot. He was burning up. We know something about that. That it might be shade for his head to deliver him from the misery. So Jonah was very grateful for the plant. But as morning dawned the next day, God prepared a worm, and it so damaged the plant that it withered. What do you think Jonah did? Goodness, Lord, what in the world are you doing? I had this wonderful plant. I was feeling good. It was cool. The breeze was coming through. And you let a worm get in that thing? Any of you checked your peaches lately? Be careful, because worms do those things. But anyway, a worm got in that thing, and it went to nothing. He didn't have anything. Oh, God. It says, and it happened when the sun rose that God prepared an east wind, and the sun beat on Jonah's head so that he grew faint, and then he wished death for himself, and he said, it is better for me to die than to live. And then God said again, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? And he said, it is right for me to be angry, even to death. But God said, you have had pity on the plant for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up at night and perished in a night. And should I not have pity on Nineveh, that great city to which are more than 120,000 persons who cannot discern between their right hand and their left, and also much cattle? Well, when was Jonah, when was he self-centered? Well, he was self-centered when he ran from God. And he was self-centered when he ran ahead of God. He was self-centered when it made him mad that God didn't destroy the people of Nineveh. But he was God-centered when he ran to God. And he was God-centered when he walked with God and ran with God to deliver the message to the people of Nineveh. I say all of this and share this and just read the word because God is so good. You see, Jonah recognized God. It says in this verse, Jonah described God as being gracious, merciful, and slow to anger, and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. God says that we are to be Christ-like. Jesus said in John chapter 12, verse 23, it says, "But Jesus answered them, saying, The hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Most assuredly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. He who loves his life will lose it, and he who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life." What's been God's message to you as I have shared this and we have read through the book? Is it one of encouragement? Saying, yes, I know God has shown you in your heart that you are saved and that you know Christ is Savior. You just got a little problem. You're just walking too much in a self-centered way and not enough in the Christ-centered way. And you've got a choice to make right today of whether you'll be Christ-centered in your reaction. How will you respond to Him? Will you say, yes, I see you as a gracious and merciful God. Thank you for giving me another chance, a new beginning, and walking with you. Would you stand with me? Every head bowed. Others going to come, He's going to lead us. He's going to give all of us an opportunity to make our statement before the Lord, making a decision that God wants us to make. Maybe it's to receive Christ as Savior. You need to do that today. Won't you come? I'll be down in front with Brother Donald. Will be down at the front with me if needed. We will visit with you about that decision. But maybe it's a decision for, as a Christian, that, hey, I want to be Christ-like. I want to walk closely with the Lord. I want to make those good decisions in Him. Help me to do that. And God will help you. Father, we are grateful for this time together. Thank you for what you've done. I pray that the invitation might be according to your will. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Brother, how many things want you?
again, I want to thank you for this day. I want to ask you to keep us safe this day. And God, I want to pray for the leadership of this nation this day. God, they need your presence.